G'day, everyone. Welcome to Win Against Tide. Are we actually going live right now?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh,
We are absolutely live right now.
We are fully live.
You gave me no warning then. I just thought that was a test start. But anyway, it all went very well, didn't it? Welcome to the show, everyone. Another professional opening from us, and it's a massive show we have lined up.
Whew,
First of all, plenty to catch up on from our end. Me and Joe have been driving around the ocean for not much result, but boy, did we cook some delicious meals. Adrian, however, has had some success with the fish catching side of things.
Oh no. I've also driven around the ocean looking at tuna in an aquarium and not touching any lures whatsoever.
But you've been quite the dominator on some other things.
Yes, I did. But, when you have a little bit of intel and use a bit of 1%, you get the job done.
Very good.
Yeah.
What else we got on tonight's show, Dave?
We'll delve into that a little bit later. What else we got tonight? We got the main ticket, the man himself, Joey, what some people might call Australia's premier game fisherman, premier game fisherman of the Southern Hemisphere, Ritchie Abela from Dreamcatcher Sportfishing Charters. He's going to join us via the phone in about 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to have a chat to Ritchie. Sure, heaps of people will be keen to get on and pose some questions to Ritchie, given that we're coming up to marlin season. Some really exciting reports coming from up the coast the last few days and, in fact, the last few months. And we've got the local bluefin and kingfish kicking around here in good numbers. So fishing's very exciting at the moment, boys.
Absolutely. And guess what? We're live on YouTube. So if you've got a question to ask, jump on the Wind Against Tide YouTube page and jump on this episode 68, Ritchie Abela. You can jump on in the chat room. You can ask us questions. We've got our laptops here. We're ready to interact with you guys as we go along this podcast journey on episode 68.
Well, Joey, all the people that just heard you talk are in that chat room right now. Thanks for letting them know.
We're right across the universe. We're on Spotify. We're on. Oh, that comes later. Sorry, we're only on YouTube. Sorry about that.
Hang on, let's just unpack Joseph Fernand's thought processes here.
Anyways,
somehow the people in the future are going to come back, jump on our live feed, pose questions to Ritchie, even though it'll be days since he's been on the show, and he's going to answer them. Is that kind of what you've come up with there, Joe?
Yeah, hey, anything's possible.
It's a modern world.
I thought we were on every single airwave in the world right then, I reckon.
Hey, we will be. Let's just get, we'll get a few more shows under our belt, and then that could well be the case, Joey.
Later on in the show, I've also got this month's Whiskey Club, which I'm going to share with Adrian and Dave and get their feedback on it, because we all know how much Dave loves whiskey, so I'm especially interested in his thoughts.
You know what, Joe? It's actually kind of reinvigorated my love for whiskey. It's been quite a long time since I've drunk whiskey, ever since the whiskey drinking episode of 2016. She was a dark day. No, I may have overindulged at a friend's engagement party on some fine whiskey and have been afraid to touch it ever since. But your segment has brought it back into my life.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm looking forward to having a little bit of that, Joey.
Yeah, we'll get stuck into that later on.
That's very exciting. So we've been out fishing. I don't think me and Joe have. Oh no, we've got a little bit to report. I've regained a love for the humble King George whiting, which has shocked quite a few people. Given I think people think I've kind of been giving them shit for the entirety of this podcast life, but no, we've a few people have requested to go out for a King George whiting session with me, and just quietly I've had a good time doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you enjoyed eating them, Dave?
I've enjoyed eating them. They are bloody good to eat. Can't say I actually got much of it. I did a big cook up on New Year's Eve for family and friends, and we had the kids around, and they were calling it fish chicken because it tastes like chicken.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
never heard that one before for whiting.
Flesh so white they think it tastes like chicken. So I went down well with the kids. So I didn't actually get too much of it, Joe. But the filleting needs a bit more practice. I was swearing away filleting all those tiny little bastards.
We had plenty to practice on, so couldn't have been too bad.
Well, this is why I do prefer to do the old one big fish meat collection. One fish to fillet, not 50 tiny ones. But
you caught 50 whiting. That's pretty impressive.
Wow. No. No.
Okay.
We had a couple of good sessions though. moving up and down the middle spit of Western Port there. We, one or two real big ones. We got on. I think the biggest we got was 46 centimeters, which is a bit of a thumper. And probably the most impressive kings that anyone's at this table has caught in the last few weeks, I'd say. Unless anyone else has caught any variations of kings.
Sure. That sounds great.
I don't know. I reckon Adrian dominated the other type of king.
He's got lockjaw, old Adrian over there. It's like he's afraid of releasing his kingfish.
No, you guys are going on with your whiting story. I was just indulging in the stories of your King George whiting.
Oh, well, there wasn't much to tell.
Because I went bait fishing as well.
Yeah.
Chucked a couple of flies down there. Isn't that what you do with whiting? Chuck a little bit of baited flies down in the bottom of the Western Port there.
Did you get a few whiting while you were collecting live baits?
No, because I didn't put squid on. I think I would have if I put squid on because I had the yakkers going like crazy.
Well, it's always the hardest part of king fishing, isn't it? Collecting the live baits.
Oh, absolutely.
Normally, when you get live baits, there's no kings, and then when you don't get live baits, there's kings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to do it properly if you're going to do a proper mission because you're going to set up your burley pot, and if you're going, I'm just going to get a quick couple, you've wasted all that burley, and you've lost your 2 fish to either poor boat driving or a pest fish has killed that live bait while you're trying to get kingfish. So
what's poor boat driving? Have you been running over live boats?
No, just not having a good pickup on a tinny can kill.
Not enough water flow.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And when you're on a lean like this, the water tips out and they all end up swimming in like a little puddle.
Right. Okay. So you've discovered there's some issues that may need rectifying on your next boat.
Oh yeah, that will be a pickup under the hull for sure.
And big live boats, how is your new boat going, Adrian? Got an update on that?
I actually do. I went and saw my boat builder, Steve. It was actually yesterday, believe it or not. I went and saw him because he's actually down near one of my suppliers, and I went and saw him, and his boat's looking great. He's getting it fit out this week, so the motor's going to be all ready to rumble. So he reckons he's going to take me for a drive in it. But he just slipped out. Oh yeah, I've ordered your aluminium. I'm like, oh really? And he basically said, I'm like, oh, so what? March sometime. Is it going to be ready? And he goes, oh no, it'll be done by mid-late Feb. I'm like, what?
Holy crap.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I need to get a move on.
You need a motor.
I need to get a move on and sell my boat so I can fund this project because it's turning into a expensive little project.
I'll tell you what, anybody that seriously is in the market for a great tinny, I noticed that on your YouTube channel, Adrian, on Superficial there, you've got some amazing drone footage of your boat. And yeah, just like it was a quick brief rundown, but yeah, I was pretty impressed. Looked awesome, man.
Do you know how hard that was to fly the drone? Because I wasn't just hovering it. I was driving that at full speed backwards and chasing it.
Yeah.
And you can't just hover it a meter above the water because what happens is there's like 2 meters swell by those rocks. So the drone basically almost touches the water and you're like, holy shit. So you got to quickly fly it up. So it's actually pretty hard trying to do on your own.
Yeah, it was an amazing video, but yeah, definitely check it out if you want to see some drone footage of Adrian's 420 Quinchex Renegade. It's soon to come on the market.
It will. Like I've literally got to clean it up, fix broken switches and whatever, and get it all ready to go.
You could do like a full YouTube ad on your boat with going through all the bells and whistles on your boat.
Yeah, probably. Take about a year to get through them all.
No, very good.
G'day everyone who's joined us on the live feed tonight, by the way. We've got a few new faces. Adam Todd, all the way from South Australia. Good to have you on board, Adam.
He's a good kingfisher, isn't he?
He's been burleyed in with Ritchie, I reckon. So good to have you aboard. Thanks for coming on board, guys. And don't forget that we will include anything you write in the chat on the show, as long as it's not inappropriate. Usually there is some inappropriate stuff directed at Joe.
Well, let's just talk a second about the tuna in Western Port. They've been sighted inside the bay and outside the bay, right?
Tuna, yes. They are. Well, the fishing in our neck of the woods is actually really, really good.
There's been some claims made on these tuna going in the port.
Oh, the most inland bluefin ever captured, I heard.
Yeah, inside Western Port, I heard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, they were spotted in Uringa a few years ago, and
Yeah,
that's
but you're not
pretty
reading
inland.
you're not reading the fine print.
I'm not. Someone actually caught one with a flathead lure. That man was Finn Wynn. That was an incredible capture because he went out with no, he was not targeting tuna. He had no lures
That's not what the
whatsoever.
Instagram post said.
What was he
Well, he was
targeting?
targeting. Oh, he was looking for the kings.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of king whispers going around, and basically he.
Oh, they were heading outside. They were
Yeah,
heading
he was
outside
heading
into the
along,
offshore.
looking along all those buoys in the western entrance there, and basically he just sees this giant bust up, and he goes, "That's tuna," but no one would believe me if I said it was tuna. And I think he was,
Well, he does
discouraging.
normally misidentify things, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it was discouraging through what lures he had because he had like nothing for tuna, and he found a little glide bait. I think it was like a G2 mini or something, and just chucked that behind the boat and trolled it really slow behind.
For all those people listening that doesn't know what a glide bait is, just go into a bit more detail
Okay,
with
so
that.
it's basically like a little segmented lure that you use for like.
Oh, that looks like it's like a spine that looks like it's broken into three pieces.
Oh, it's probably two pieces or something.
Yep.
These glide baits, and you can kind of work them slow along the surface because they don't sink too much.
Yep.
And you can work them really slow.
They're basically designed originally as bass lures in the US, and they are meant to be worked quite slowly, but they do swim with a real wiggly action. So
So it looks like an injured fish, essentially.
well, looks like I suppose so. Yeah, I mean they swim like quite a lively fish, to be honest, but very lifelike, and obviously the tuna. Because I actually saw because I jumped on the boat with Winger a bit later, and the thing had engulfed that lure. So maybe a new technique for inshore bluefin. Everyone, you troll
those pesky little bastards.
you troll a jointed lure along, and so I did jump on the boat with Brendan that afternoon to see if we could chase some kings down towards the western entrance of Western Port, and it was quite stormy. So basically, long story short, we got our live baits and got to our kingfish spot, got about 10 minutes in, and then Mother Nature was going to kill us with a big front of wind. So we ran like scared little babies.
Scurried back in.
We scurried back to the ramp. But interesting to note, we did see bluefin inside the bay there that evening as well. So there's definitely a few patches of them roaming in and out of the estuary. You don't have to go offshore at the moment. Mind you, they didn't want to eat anything.
But look, which is quite the contrast to the week before. Dave and myself, we were out off the back of Phillip Island, and we'd seen tuna on the surface, and we threw poppers at them with only just sort of a few of them following up, and we trolled through them with little skirts and spreader bars and laser pros, and they just wouldn't take anything at all.
Yeah, that's been much the story this year. The bluefin have been doing that thing where they sun themselves, and normally we can pull a few fish out of that, but this year they've been extra hard to tempt. You know what, though? I've seen some footage from the last day or two. Looks like there's a bit of bird action starting to happen, and the fish may be getting...
Mate, I saw one of the charter boats, one of Senny's boats. It was back in Mount Martha Marina by 9:30 with about, 16 fish on board. So it was a bag out back at the marina by 9:30. So it tells you that it's on, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll eat anything and everything when they're on like that.
100%.
Darcy's asking, have we ever considered using surf rods as outriggers?
That is actually really funny because we got a mate that actually did that.
That's
might be
true,
a good
but I
idea
do
on
have actual outriggers, so I tend to use those.
That might be a good idea on my 420 dory.
Okay, there's a story. We had Gopal. He was going to go to Portland.
Nobody knows who Gopal is. You got it.
Greg Gopal is a neighbour of Brendan Wing back when he lived in Crib Point, and Brendan used to take him fishing quite often. And he was planning a trip in his little Haynes Signature going to Portland, and someone told him that he needed outriggers or whatever. So he went to, I think, Kmart or something and bought these surf rods and turned them into outriggers. And I never saw the end result of it, but it sounded quite comical.
The man's a fishing MacGyver.
No, yeah, I was going to say MacGyver, 100%.
MacGyver. Hey, I reckon I might give the main man, Ritchie, a call
Oh, yeah.
and see if he's going to answer if you two want to carry on, then I'll
Yeah.
dial up. See how we go.
He's probably going to answer straight away.
I hope so. We have worded him up.
Hello.
Ritchie Abela, welcome to Wind Against Tide podcast. We're stoked to have you on here. How are you going?
Not bad, mate. Kicking back on the couch, listening to your voice.
Awesome. Now we have another host who's joined us since we last spoke to you, Joey, sitting next to me too, by the way. So you might get some left of field questions from him. He's quite well known for those.
Joey, is it the same Joey that I know? Is he from Hooked Up Tackle?
Oh no, you wouldn't let him advise you on fishing things. No, no. You've probably met him. He's been a mate of ours forever. Very good-looking young man. Plays bass guitar. Winds in a few fish every now and then, and quite a good radio podcast host as well. So yeah, Joey's going to chime in a little bit.
Yeah, I'd actually like to open up the floor. Ritchie, I hear that your Marlin Masterclass last week. I was driving down here. And my boss gave us a call, and he said he had a mate that went to your Marlin Masterclass last week, and quote unquote, he said it was fucking unbelievable.
I really got some good feedback over that. And look, I value the feedback from the guys that are there. Like, I got a lot of direct feedback, but feedback like what you just gave just now is invaluable, because that's what I call through the back door. They don't need to bullshit to you or bullshit to anyone else and just to make you happy or whatever. So that to me is invaluable feedback. Like, you know, we always look, whenever I put these things on, we really, really go to town with all the info that we give out. Like, if someone's, you know, respected my business and my and what I do and the years that I've put in enough to come and want to sit there and pay to hear what I've got to say, then I give the same respect back and try my very best to infuse into them as much information as I can to help them along their fishing journey, you know. And look, that's really amazing to hear that. Look, I've had amazing feedback about that workshop. It was unreal. Look, I've done a couple of swordfish ones, but that was actually the first marlin one that we'd ever done.
And Ritchie, what was, if you could just sort of summarize, what was some of the topics that you covered with your Marlin Masterclass?
Well, Joe, as a special treat for our Win Against Tide listeners tonight, Ritchie's about to go through the entirety of the workshop for everyone. So take it away, Ritchie.
He's selling himself short here. He's selling himself short.
You know what, Dave? I've known you for a long time. I never knew you were a comedian.
Come on, mate. We've been in serious fishing mode when you've seen me, I think. That's probably the issue.
Yeah, always been serious. And the comedian I've never seen. I'm glad it exists.
Mate,
no, listen, we touched on pretty much every topic there is to know about marlin fishing. And you know, we sort of we had a full what do you call them? PowerPoint presentation. Right? The way words just got stuck.
That's all good.
And we sort of laid it out from top to bottom. Everything from, like, the talk started about, you know, what's required in a boat. You know, the layout, how you make it. Like, my boat's my boat, but your boat will be customized to you and how it works, but it's more, you know. So I just went through all the bits and pieces, what makes a boat work and how you can customize it to make it work for you. And we just went from there. Probably one of, when I went through rip charts. So rip charts is one of those contentious topics where everyone wants to know about it, and a lot of people got opinions about it, but there's not that many people that are really switched on to, you know, everyone knows what hot water, what cold water and stuff, but not that many people understand the fundamentals of what makes for good productive water. And I think I spent probably 45 minutes on that through the workshop.
Yep.
And we actually brought charts up and went through how to use it and how to pull all the features out of it, and more importantly, probably the most important thing is how to interpret those charts when in your lounge or on your phone or wherever you are, and go, right, geez, we've got a good picture today. That's where I'm going to fish, and go there with confidence and literally catch fish. And that was something that you could have literally heard a pin drop while I was explaining that to the guests. And I think most people, if you ask most people in there, will agree that that's probably one of the most important things they got out of it. Amongst everything else, but we touched in everything. We went into bait rigging and you know, how to get the most out of your bait rigging and everything from hooking up to, you know, what you do, like when you're marking fish, or if you're not marking fish, when to swap into different techniques, why we swap to different techniques to get the result. Yeah, it was full on. It was a big day. Like I got home and I was absolutely spent.
Mentally drained.
That's
Extracted all the
that's
information.
awesome, Richie. Richie, I got a question for you. So, if you had to be, say, the Jane Bunn of forecasting marlin fishing, what would you expect to see happen in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks on that south coast marlin, South New South Wales coast marlin that a lot of Victorians are looking forward to and gearing up, getting ready to go? What's your prediction of what's going to happen?
Well, I'll be monitoring the situation now. Obviously, knowing that I'm going to go in the coming weeks, and obviously want to put my clients on the best possible water to give them the best chance to catch. And it's been a spectacular beginning to January on the marlin. Like, if I don't know if you're across all the marlin, like I've got quite a few connections and contacts I've made over the years and friendships and stuff, and we chat just like we're doing now. And the extraordinary bite that they're having up on the Gold Coast, for example, where all this water pretty much starts coming down from, you get that Coral Sea East Australian current that pushes down from up there. And they're probably having one of the best blue marlin, striped marlin bites that they have ever seen.
Yeah.
We talk to the guys are catching, I've heard reports of 18 out of sort of 25, 30 fish for the day. They're good, incredible numbers. And then, you got the water off Newcastle and Forrester and all that sort of stuff. But the one thing that's happening along and is consistent along the way, Sydney, if you know anyone in Sydney, you'll know that some of the Sydney fishermen, like is pretending like we're going out of Port Phillip Heads, it would be the equivalent of going out of Port Phillip Heads for us.
Yep.
And all the Sydney boats going out of their home waters, and they're getting 5, 6, 7 marlin out of their home waters, which they'll tell you is normally very, very hard to do. The bait doesn't hold up there, and fish just move through. But they're getting consistent results. But probably the one thing that's consistent all that way at the moment is there's not a big congregation of bait. Fish are in that water and they're moving down. The current's moving pretty fast.
Yep.
And so you're having these bite windows that are really hot today and tomorrow, and then probably peter out pretty quickly. And there's good numbers of fish coming down in that water. If I had to predict where it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, I would put my odds on money that you're going to probably get something around Eden to Merimbula way, and in that zone, that water's starting to warm up, that current's backed off.
Yep.
The bait's starting to stack up there. There's other areas. Bateman's Bay is actually fishing quite well, and there's bait holding there on the inside of the shelf now, and it's been fishing really well, but they're having their on and off days, and the bait can be patchy.
Have you heard much out of Jarvis Bay, Richie?
Jarvis Bay, that current's ripping really hard through there, but in saying that, the fish are coming through it. And, there's been some really, really good solid reports coming out of Jarvis Bay. But it's one of those places where, you go out today and just they're everywhere. And, you go out tomorrow and they're gone.
Yeah. So sorry, Richie. So to simplify it, basically what's happening is we've got the EAC, which is flowing down the east coast of Australia, which is like the Marlin Highway. And it's peak hour at the moment. There's a lot of marlin on that highway. And we're sort of looking for that water to slow up or eddy as we reach the south coast, or hopefully as close to us as possible. And that's where the bait's going to stack up. And hopefully there'll be a traffic jam of marlin, and Dreamcatcher will be floating around on top of them, catching them.
I like the way you look at it, man, but that's exactly how you described it in as well as you did. That is pretty much it. Yep. That is exactly it, where that water slows up and where she starts to mix in where the bait's going to congregate and the bait's going to hold for any period of time. Those fish are going to slam the brakes on. And it's not that you won't catch fish in other locations, but the fish will hold for longer periods of time and be more consistent fishing over a period of time in those locations. That's what it boils down to.
Absolutely. Now, the marlin season obviously is what's getting you amped up by the sounds of it, but we've got a lot of stuff happening locally too. Are you off doing charters at the moment on our local bluefin fisheries and perhaps even kingfish at the moment?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, no, we've got a couple of rat kingies at the moment. With just as bycatcher these bluefin, and I had probably 2 acres of them the other day all around the boat. But you reckon they would eat anything? They just wouldn't have a bar of anything, not bait, not lures, not and the bluefin were the same.
Yep.
So yeah, the short answer to that question is I'll be out again tomorrow. I'm doing a guide tomorrow and got another charter on coming this week. And yeah, we've been into the bluefin. We've had some wicked bites. And when they do flick that switch, and I believe they did today for a couple of mates that were out there today, it's literally can't keep a line in the water. But when they want to give you the big old bird, trust me, it is all fingers are blazing because they just do not a damn thing about you.
You can spend about 10 hours on top of them, and it's so bloody frustrating. How do you get your customers through that?
Spear fishermen.
There's a couple of times I'm thinking of taking some rocks just to throw at them.
Just to let them know.
If it's throw hard enough, I might hit one in the head and knock it out. That's how close we're getting to these fish. And look, I like to think I'm pretty good at getting the fish. Maybe won't get record numbers, but in the past I've been pretty good at getting fussy fish to climb onto a lure or something and get a couple of fish to take home for the clients and keep everything interesting. This year has been extra tough.
Goodness. It is so bloody hard because you tried everything that works in the past that will guarantee a bite eventually, but it's not happening this year. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. They either got smarter or we got dumber. One of the two.
Oh, well, I've definitely got dumber, but I do believe they are a bit trickier to catch this year. You've been fishing for bluefin for a long, long time. I remember early days seeing pictures of you with big barrel bluefin out of Eaglehawk Neck and whatnot in the early days. But what do you think about the fishery, how it's developed? I mean, could you ever have dreamed of catching not only these school bluefin, which they were never a summertime thing, but now we get consistent runs of jumbo, barrel, whatever you want to call them, 100-kilo bluefin coming past our bays?
You could literally now, you could call it, Victoria has pretty much, I think if you had to dedicate some time, you could catch southern bluefin tuna in Victorian waters 12 months of the year.
Basically,
that is incredible. We have at our doorstep one of the most amazing bluefin fisheries that you could possibly poke a stick at. Like we have, I personally, and this is from personal experience, what I've seen outside of Port Phillip Bay this year in the way of big fish, never mind these little ones. These little ones have been coming, and when I say little ones, they're not so little. They're 20, I've caught nearly 40-kilo models there when they're thick, right? And, mate, they smoke a 24-kilo outfit, mate. They'll dump half a reel when you hook up.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? And on some of those spin outfits, mate, if you're not up and after them, you'll get dumped. I know a few people that got dumped.
Yeah.
And, but what I've seen with the big fish this year, like we've always said it, and Dave, you probably would have heard this many times before, one fish, one local barrel, caught out of either Western Port, out of your home port or Port Phillip Bay, he's worth 5 or 6 in Portland or anywhere else where we know they're reasonably prolific these days.
Yep.
I had fishing this year, or last year, should I say, that was equivalent, as good, if not better, than any fishing that I have ever done in Portland or Port Macdonald or Polo Bay, for that matter, just outside Port Phillip Heads. Like, I had fish fighting over lures this year. We were catching fish to, I personally seen fish over 160 kilos getting caught. That's world class. That's not even
crazy, isn't it?
That's not even Australian class anymore. That's world class.
Yep.
Yeah. And Sorry.
Sorry, mate. No, yeah, it's just I was just going to reiterate. Yeah, absolutely incredible. I think there was a week or two period there in particular. I think I probably could have counted 5 or 6 fish over 160 kilos, which is, as we know, that's like you were just saying, absolutely world class.
Thank you, Lockie McFarlane, giving us his $20 super chat.
Oh, thanks, Lockie. We've just had a donation on live YouTube. I hope that becomes a trend. Yeah. So,
yeah, 2022, that was the year of the barrel. I called it early, but it actually happened, didn't it, Dave? Anyone who hadn't caught a barrel before got one in 2022.
Well, I got 3.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
That's all right.
Shoot your own horn. Yeah.
In saying that, right, like it's great. We had an amazing 2022 barrel season, but we had an amazing 2015 season. I don't know if everyone remembers,
Mate,
but
yes.
2000,
Port McDonald.
2000, yeah, no, mate, 2015, you could have gone out in any port in Victoria and in South Australia, for that matter, and been a really, really hot chance to get on a good bunch of barrels. Like I can remember catching them out of Bowen Heads, catching them out of Apollo Bay, catching them out of Portland, then we caught them out of Port McDonald, then we caught them out of Bridgewater Road. Like, caught them everywhere that season and in every method imaginable.
Did you go up to Beachport?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I didn't actually launch from Beachport, but I drove a boat. And to be fair, we probably got onto that bite. We were probably one of the first groups that got onto that bite. I know that for a fact because we ran out of fuel in the boat I was in. I was in a mate's boat. That's what I wouldn't call a really good, manageable skipper because we didn't have enough fuel to get back home. And,
can I name him? I know who it was.
No, you cannot name him. I've given him enough grief. But yeah, that we kept tracking. I can remember us going west following the life that day. We ended up about 75 kilometres from Port McDonald that day. And we had, oh my God, like there was just so many fish. We lost about 4 fish that day. There was fish. I was just grabbing all the lures. I'm standing on the gunnels. I'm watching them swimming through bait balls. It was just off its head. We ended up catching one. I think it was 144 that day.
Yeah.
And the following day, friends of mine launched from Beachport because they were thought, mate, they're so far. Let's see what else. And that's when the Beachport.
I was one of those boats.
Yeah, well, that was the day where one really close friends got the 178 kilo one.
Yes, Fridge. Yeah, I was with Jamie. I think he's a mutual friend of ours, and he actually, I think he'd spoken to you and got the spot you were at the day before. We went down there, and then, but it turns out the fish had already moved from there further towards Beachport, and the other guys that came out after us just rolled straight into them and were hooking up left, right, and centre. It was incredible fishing back then.
Yeah, well, I didn't go out that following day. I was pretty pissed off that we'd run out of fuel and spent 4 hours getting towed in some pretty crappy weather. So I wasn't a real happy camper, and we didn't even get back to the boat ramp. I think till about like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up at 10, and they're like, "Oh, let's go fishing." I'm like, "I ain't going nowhere."
It's a little bit nostalgic, 2015, because I don't know if you remember. I think I was saying to the boys on one of our podcasts, I reckon I went 14 weekends in a row or something, and it was always the same guys there. It was you, Nick Lazar, Mossy, all the same faces, and we'd be in different states, different ports, but somehow we'd all just happen to roll into the same spot at the same time. No communication. It was incredible.
It was a little bit, it's in the know, but like the consistency of the fish that season was like, we talk about comparisons, right? I still think that as good a season as we had in 2022, I still think the 2015 season was a better season because the fish were just spread out in massive numbers every port.
Yeah.
Like this year we had a sensational, like you could never steer past Port McDonald, and the shit part about that for me was I can't work in South Australia. I can go and fish there and catch fish for fun, but that was to my detriment because when I went there and we got a few, then everyone was ringing, "Hey, when can we do a charter? When can we do a charter?" I'm like, "Well, we can't."
Just jump on as a mate. Donations. Pay for the fuel.
Richie.
Sorry?
Ritchie, I absolutely loved Port McDonald this year. I went out with good mate Sean Hildyard on the Queen's birthday long weekend, and we got 2. I'd never been on a boat before and got 2. Like, I've been fishing for barrels for 10 years and would never have dreamed of gotten 2 in literally almost one after the other. It was just absolutely incredible. The water was like electric purple. It was just, I'll never forget it.
That was like what the bite that they had just last year was one of the most incredible bites. Like, you literally went 7 kilometers from the boat ramp. You never went more than 10, right? And they were freaking everywhere on every little patch of bait, and they were really homing. And we went from, and if you're listening to this, guys, this is just shows you the diversity of the fishing, right? Gone with the lure fishing. We literally went out there, and you would be forgiven for thinking we were fishing for marlin because we were using marlin techniques. And, we had live baits. The tanks were full of live. We'd stop on live bait. We'd jig up live bait. We'd scoop them with nets. We'd mark the tuna. We'd put baits out. Bang, you're on. You just cast fish like you'd literally throw a live bait into a ball, and split second later, you'd just be hanging on for dear life for this rod.
Yeah, incredible. So with the prolific, is that a bit? Yeah. Bluefin fishery we've had for some time now. Are you still as amped to catch them as you were, back in the early days when we had to jump on the Spirit of Tassie and go to all that effort? Do you still get the same thrill out of it, or has the shine come off it a bit in your eyes?
Not at all. I absolutely love catching big tuna. Like,
Yep.
the big tuna buzz for me, it just never dies. It just doesn't. I always look at Tassie, and Dave, you'd be probably one of few people that know how many miles and stuff we did in the early days when no one was ever catching anything like this. And caught 1 or 2 to your name, you were just like up in lights pretty much. When we did really well up in Tassie, I think we turned the locals. We had the locals even wondering what the hell we're doing.
Yeah.
Up there back in the day, but that I always look at Tassie as my bluefin apprenticeship. That was the learn. That was where we really, really nutted out what it takes to land these bigger fish. Because no one was doing it. There was no information back then. We didn't know much about how hard we could go, or how soft we had to go, the hook sizes, the line, the bare basics that everybody seems to know now because it's so common knowledge.
Yeah.
wasn't common back then at all. So there was a lot of mistakes made. There was a lot of fish lost in that transition period to get to what we have now, which is a firm line of what we need, as a bare minimum to get these fish on, to make them bite and to catch them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good to see that they still hold a special spot in your heart. I know that I feel the same way. It's just, it's the places it takes us. It's like the wildlife we see when we're out chasing these big fish, and then I think just the pure power of them is it's quite unreal.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dave. Like, the wildlife is something that a lot of us, especially, can sometimes take for granted. Like, what we like, it's interesting because my missus has been introduced to this, and her family loves things like whales. Like, I'll take our clients and we might not even catch a fish. We'll see a bait ball and there's dolphins and there's seals and there's whales coming half out the water, just out of the blue. You don't even expect it, and just smash this whole bait school. And they're like, "Wow!" It's like someone has catapulted you into the middle of a David Attenborough special.
Yeah,
and you're in the middle of it. And we often, and I'm guilty of this myself, sometimes are so caught up in trying to catch a fish that we miss what's going on around us, which is absolutely breathtaking and quite incredible.
Sometimes it's so hard to just take a minute and enjoy the scenery around you because you're so fixated on getting that bite. But you feel like if you take a minute just to have a breath and look around you, you're going to miss everything. You want to be first to that bait ball. How do you deal with that?
It's hard. I hate that this, if I had to be honest, this whole charging around thing that has become a bit of a trend in recent years. And I just honestly don't think it's necessary. And I think if everyone had their gear in the water and just moved around, like a lot of the times these people, especially a lot of times the newcomers, they just belt over to, like, they see a little bit of life. And I'll watch them. Sometimes I'm chuckling. I can't help it because
20 knots trolling everything behind the boat.
but I'm watching lures flying out of the water because they haven't bothered to pull the lures out. And then they race over to this thing and they don't even pull the throttles back until they literally, the boat just glides over it all. And then they wonder why it just dissipated. All of a sudden, it's gone. Where is it?
It's incredibly frustrating.
Or you go back. Sorry, you go.
Interesting. The other day, and using this as an example, those school fish, we had them on the top everywhere. Like they're scooting around having a ball of a time, right? And I really try and sneak up on them. And just at normal trolling speed, right, you get within 20 metres of them.
And you don't get there first.
And I can stand and drive and watch the water from the top of my boat, which I've got a pretty good aerial view there. And I literally watch these fish. They can hear the outboard motor, mate. They hear it from a mile away, and they just go straight down, gone. And then you mark them they were on the surface. All of a sudden, you're marking them on the sounder down at 20, 30 metres. And that's what's happening with these things. They just go down. Like if people learn to just be gentle and cruise up to them, they'd probably catch more fish, and everyone else would catch them as well, rather than just keep boot scooting around after them.
Yeah, it's a bit upsetting when you watch them on the sounder and you can visibly see them swimming downwards as you approach. That's the problem with modern technology. It really shows you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, that gets the thinker. Like, you know, if you're going to get better at fishing, that's what's going to make you better, because you'd have to try and work them out. And it was like interesting the other day. So we get up close to them and we work out which way they're moving, and we know they're getting spooked by the boats now. And you know, we didn't catch any record numbers. We got a couple of bites, but we got fish where no one really even turned the reel that day, purely because we just creeped up to them, turned the engines off, let the drift and the tide push us over to them, and flicked a few baits. Mate, I could have threw rocks at them. They were swimming under the boat, swimming everywhere.
Yeah,
you know, and they were still fussy, but we got a bite.
That's right.
We got, you know, my clients went from never seeing a tuna, that was the biggest fish they've ever seen, to getting one in the boat and fighting. And they were, you know, as much as they would have loved, and we would have loved to catch 5, 6, 7 or 8 more, you know, catching one was at least better than catching none.
Oh, a whole lot better. Yeah. I mean, people say, oh, it's just good to see them. But when you've driven around watching them all day and haven't been able to catch one, you kind of tend to think differently. You think maybe I would have rather just not see them than have them tease me all day.
I've got an ongoing joke. We've his dream catcher 2 sports fishing and tuna watching charters.
Hey, Richie, I got a question for you. You mentioned you're going to be heading up on the Marlin with customers. To describe how long were you going to be up there, and where would you be based out of, and how do people get in touch with you they want to come marlin fishing with you?
That's easy enough. Look, I run a bit of a unique charter service in the fact that I don't base myself out. And look, it does make things sometimes a little bit of a logistical problem, but for the clients, it's a win-win all the way. Because I'm probably one of very few charter boats on the East Coast now. I'm probably the only one that's mobile, in the fact that I can be working out of Malakuta, I can be working out of Eden. A lot of those ports haven't got resident marlin or proper game fishing charter boats that are kitted out, fitted out, and got the know-how to go and chase these things. So I will chase them now from pretty much from the beginning of Feb all the way to the end of March, or definitely a solid 2-month season. And if the fish keep going into April, and I've still got the phone ringing and people are booking charters, I'll probably run it into April. Many times that season runs well into April.
Yep.
So yeah, that's from, in terms of my season, that's February and March are my core months, and then sometimes it runs into April. In terms of getting in contact with me, anyone can call me. So if you are listening, my phone number is 0438 014 814. Repeat that again, 0438 014-814, or contact me on any of my Facebook pages, the Dreamcatcher Sportfishing business page, or even the Ritchie Abela one, which most people are across. It's a public page. I'm on Instagram as Dreamcatcher2 Sportfishing. Can't miss the bald head. So, yeah, look, most people contact me via all those channels, and sometimes it can get a bit much trying to keep across them all to book a trip and whatnot on the Marlin. But, yeah, like I said, I am I definitely am the only charter boat that has the capability of fishing in Eden for a week or two and then all of a sudden having to move the boat down to Malakuta or something like that because all the water and the fish are pushed down there and the bulk of them are there.
Well, that's beautiful. Hey, Richie, how many Marlin flags do you actually carry on board? Have you got enough flags?
I reckon he's got about 50 there. Just for that one day, he might actually catch 50.
Well, the best day we've ever had on them was off Narooma. I was fishing between Burmese and Narooma.
19. Was it 19?
The kink.
It was 17.
Oh.
It was 17. Good guessing.
I remember. I gave you 2 extra for effort.
We caught 17 that day. It should have been 25.
Oh.
It should have been 20. I reckon we hooked about 30 plus fish that day. Easily hooked 30 fish.
So did you have enough flags?
No, we were putting on jocks.
Yeah, we've done that before.
Yeah, I think we had a couple of baseball caps we put up there. Like, yeah, pretty sure now. There was everything was going up there. It was hysterical.
Me and Joe have been partaking in a bit of King George whiting fishing of late, and we thought, you know what, they're not real photogenic. They're not a big, impressive fish, and we thought, how do we most, show off that we've had a good catch for the day? And we came up with the idea of whiting tag flags. Do you think that's a concept that could take off, Richie?
That's a real tough question, though.
I reckon it'll look impressive. You got 5 or 6 flag poles and they're just full of flags, and you can just roll back into the port and be like, yeah, we got the whiting. Check out our flags.
They'd have to be upside down dead whiting because nobody's tagging whiting and releasing them.
The boat would look like a porcupine.
Oh my God! You don't have enough poles.
Hey, Richie.
You know what you should do? I've got a really good idea. If you're going to do that, obviously there's numbers there. You should just fly a kite and then send all the tags up the kite string, and that will declutter the boat, and everybody will get to see the flags from half a day away.
These are all good ideas. I've got another left of field question for you. Like you get a lot of technical fishing questions, but I don't know if you would have been asked this before. Joe's a musician and he really takes a lot of pride in selecting music. The other day we were trolling along and it was a dead day on the tuna, and Joe said, "You know what, Dave? I know what'll get him going." He said, "All the good tuna charter skippers love a bit of salsa music." He put on the salsa music, and you would not believe it. Blind trolling, no nothing, anywhere. Within 2 minutes of the salsa music being on, rod buckles and takes off. Do you think there's anything in that?
Mate, I can't give away one of my best secrets, mate. You're really putting me in a corner here online. It's like, I don't mind giving a few tricks away, but mate, salsa. But you know what works even better?
What's that?
When you can dance to it when it's on. It's just, yeah. If one fish is going to bite, you'll get multiples.
Which is something that you're a lot better at than we are. You actually have a background in salsa dancing, don't you, Richie?
Yeah, I did it for 10 or 11 years professionally.
Yep. And unfortunately, fishing took over, did it?
Fishing's always been first, mate. Fishing was there when I was a kid, and it's been pretty much there since my early days, even before I was even 10 years old. I started game fishing at I think I was 16. I went 16 or 17. I went to Burmese for the first time, and just I've never stopped game fishing ever since.
Yeah,
well, I'm not going to say my age now, but I'm a lot more older than that.
Wow, you're looking quite young. It must be all the salsa dancing that keeps you fit, I reckon, on the big Noosa Cat deck.
It's that, or marrying a young woman, that helps sometimes.
Now, I don't know if you've got much time up your sleeve, Richie. You've been very generous already, but a few guys have posed some questions to you via our Instagram. Have you got a minute to cover a couple of those?
Yeah, far away.
No worries. So the Roach Life has asked, what's your go-to marlin setup, favourite lure, and best live bait rig, line, hook brand, wind-on size? Cover as much or as little of that as you have time to.
It's easy to cover the first part. I generally never use lures on marlin unless I'm using them as teasers. The hookup rate on lures on marlin is not as well. It can be okay, but it generally isn't. And baits are more productive in terms of getting a hookup. So yeah, look, I do use lures on marlin. If I had to put it down to particular lures, I would not put it down to a particular brand. I'd put it down to a particular size. I'd probably not use anything bigger than sort of 8 to 10 inch lures, 8 being preferred, light gauge hooks, double hook rigs, you know, and probably particular colours would be your evil colour pattern. Your purples and your lumos seem to work very well on the marlin. That would probably be about the best information I'd give about on lures, because lures are a last resort for me on marlin if we can't find bait as a backup. In terms of, you know, bait rigs, you know, you can't go past your slimy mackerel. I'd rather run a slimy behind the boat than any other fish.
Yep.
Be it alive or dead. You know, obviously, like skip baiting, if they're dead, that's all part of stuff I covered in that workshop. In terms of line, you got to be careful with marlin. You don't want to go too big a line that they're going to shy away. You don't want to go too small. You got to remember that beak of theirs is like a rasp foil.
Yep.
If you go too light, great, get the bite. Don't last longer than 5 minutes connected to him before he chafes you off. So
yeah, thanks,
my
Dave.
go-to is yeah.
Apparently, I went too light on the leader, and Joe lost a marlin one day.
Richie, Dave chafed me off a beauty at a lakes entrance marlin on a flimsy line. So yeah, thanks for that tip.
I was only doing what Richie does, so blame him.
Look, they'll chafe you off. Even like I use 200 and 200 pound Wemoi for all my you know, skip baiting and live bait rigs and stuff. I probably go a bit heavier on the skip baits. You can afford to go 250 or even 300 on the skip baits. It's not, your fish is not going to shy away at that size. But definitely on the live baits, you go as light as you can. But like I said, there's a fine line. You know, it's good. You can run 80-pound fluorocarbon or 100-pound fluorocarbon or stuff like that on them, and the chances are you'll chafe them off, especially if you can't catch them fast. You know, some of the newcomers, stuff like that, don't know how to manipulate a marlin and get him up to the boat faster than your average Joe. And that's nothing detrimental to them. It's just experience. You know, we catch them pretty quick. We can bowl them over in a couple of minutes sometimes, you know, and, you know, they got minimal time to damage your line. But as soon as you've got them on for 25 plus, if you've got, you know, light line, they're going to chafe you off. And, you know, I had a couple of guys last year actually say to me, you know, we hooked 8 for the day. I said, how many did you catch? They go, none.
Yep.
You know, and when I mean by catching, you know, it's classified as catching when you grab that leader in your hand. So you got to get that fish at least to the bare minimum within 9 metres of the boat to claim it as caught. You know, as a charter operator, I want to get them closer than that. I want to get them, you know, at least swimming alongside the boat.
You want to get the money shot for the customers. They love the money shot.
Yeah, and we try, and we don't, you know, like we a lot of, you know, I'd say 8 times out of 10, we would get that fish swimming within a couple of metres from the boat, you know, like you got him on that leader, but you know, you're pulling, you're yanking on him now. You know, you're trying to get him to the boat. So more often than not, you know, that line is sustained so much damage through the fight. We've got him there. The fish is caught. The angler's no longer winding. The deckie's got the leader in hand, but we don't always get that money shot where the fish is there. And look, for us, it's a preservation of the fish as well. You know, like we want to look after that fish. We don't want to thrash him around till he's dead for a couple of photos.
Yep.
We get video, you know, if we can get those photos and get him to play nice, we will. And we always aim for it. We're always pretty gentle with the leaders until it's time to get him off. But that's the main key. I think that answers everything in that one.
Yeah, no, that was a very good answer. Covered it all. So next one from Simon Webby. He's wants to know how many daisy chains and spreader bars do you usually run in your spread for big tuna? And do you believe they've increased your success on barrels in Victoria?
They have changed the way we fish for barrels in Victoria. Increased, I think, look, there's, you know what it is? It's like you use, you know, and you stand testimony to this, Dave, you know, what we used to use in Tassie and what we use now. It doesn't mean what we used to use in Tassie wouldn't work here, but sometimes, you know, once you're getting the bites and you've got that confidence on what you're getting bit on, you tend to stick with it until they give you a reason to change, or, you know, you throw something else in the mix. I tend to like to change things up. And yeah, look, they have definitely changed the way we fish for big tuna, or even the little ones. I started using them on the little ones with massive success. And I was making up my own for quite some time. I still am,
Yep.
you know, with my own little touches to it and whatnot. But yeah, look, they've definitely become a must-have part of your kit. And look, you know, there's times I've run 3 out there. You got to be careful when you're running because they're not cheap. You know, you lose one, you get some inexperienced guy that really has got no idea or complete disregard for anyone else and drives across the back of your boat. And if you ever want to make a Maltese cross, just do that to me.
And not only that, but they add a whole lot of more water pressure to the line when you do hook up. And I know a lot of people seem to crack off the main line with those big teasers dragging along, creating all that
big
pressure.
stretch bars.
Yeah.
I find they minimise the fight. To be fairly honest, if you get a fish that's nailed the spreader bar, I feel like the fight time of that fish will be cut short because that fish tucked around that spreader bar, the drag that's creating in the water actually wears the fish down.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to another question. A guy named Adrian Ludier has said, a question to you being a charter operator. In today's age, everyone basically has the technology to pinpoint GPS locations on their phones. How do you deal with this on charter, especially in Port Phillip Bay?
Good one. There's no way of dealing with it. They're really. Well, I talk to all the other operators in the bay. I've got a pretty good relationship with pretty much most of them, and it's a constant problem for them. You got people pinning their marks. It's actually not the clients in the boat. A lot of times it's other boats that just come past and do it. So how do you mitigate that? Who owns the water? You don't. I don't.
Do you get a couple of 20-ounce sinkers and lob it over?
Yeah, it's a constant. And look, in Port Phillip Bay is only a small part of what I do. It's near impossible. I wouldn't give a rat's razoo if someone's doing it on the marlin or even the tuna because they're not here today and next season and the next season after that. You almost catch them in a different location every year. You know, there's definitely hot spots and areas, but X does not mark the spot when it comes to game fish. They move around with the currents and where the bait is. In Port Phillip Bay, yeah, you can tend to find areas that produce every year, and especially if, these days we live in the land of artificial reefs that people make. And
allegedly.
We're all aware of it.
How many shopping trolleys make a good reef?
I wouldn't know. I've never made one.
He's good at finding them, though.
Yeah, well, I'll find them. No problem at all, man. And I know my electronics back to front, mate. I've often said it to people, like, you just go on a calm day. You want to find them. Just go on a flat, oily, calm day. Don't even throw a rod and just troll around with the sounder and just pin them all day. Yeah. That's all you do.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a quick...
actually not that.
I've got a quick game to play with you, Richie, and this is involving Dave. I've sprung this one on him. Dave grew up on Phillip Island. He's very, very Australian, but he reckons that the island of Malta, that he has memorized every Maltese surname.
Oh no!
Do you want to have a go?
Okay,
Dave. I reckon you almost nailed every name.
Oh, but I'm under pressure now. Okay, Abela, Faruja, Bahaja, Muscat. I'm just thinking of good fishing people now. What about Mikulov? What else we got, Joe?
You got Kassa?
Help me, Joe.
Sini?
Kassa. Sini. Marty.
Hello.
Vella.
Vella.
Scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
We were doing good at this.
Help
the
us,
other day.
Richie. Is there any more? We're missing any?
Caruana,
Oh, of course.
Marijuana. I thought we were naming
Borg.
people. Borg. Yep. Yep. So to fill us in, there's basically
There's a Maltese
there's a lot of
army.
repeating that goes on with the Maltese army with last names.
It's funny. A lot of them, what you just mentioned, were charter operators.
Because I just related all to fishing.
Oh my God.
He's not bad for a boy that grew up on Phillip Island, old Davey. He's pretty good at Maltese last names.
Well, Joey, I studied barrels as a young guy, and you know, there's no better exponents of catching large bluefin than the Maltese Navy, as they call it.
That's brilliant.
Oh my God, that is hysterical. Oh my God.
Hey,
Well,
Richie.
it's been a lot of.
Yeah,
Go
sorry,
on.
mate. No, it's all right. I was about to ask you another question, but you're all right. Go on.
Go for it. Shoot.
Okay. Well, I'll be remiss of us not to mention your battle wagon, the Noosa Cat. A lot of people, you know, ask us, you know, we've had this question a few times on the podcast, what would be your ultimate boat and why? And a lot of people come up with the Noosa Cat. Why do you think that you have chosen the ultimate fishing boat?
Oh my God, that's another 1 hour podcast, I reckon. But I'll try and summarize. Look, obviously, I own a Noosa Cat, and I have owned a Noosa Cat for over 20 years now, various models, and the 3000 that I own currently, I'm yet to go, and I'll really be specific with this. I'm yet to go on a better game fishing or fishing platform that is on a trailer.
Yep.
So, and I have been on a hell of a lot of boats, and I'm certainly not biased or, you know, got into sales with Noosa Cats. So I'm trying to promote sales for them because they do absolutely zero for me in terms of that regards. But, you know, I call a spade a spade. The boat's a good blue. And, yeah, in terms of like the way I rate a boat, and it's probably not the way that everyone rates a good boat, is you know, it's not just getting out from point A to point B. Like, let's face it, you know, if you're heading out to the shelf of Burmese, you know, you're traveling 40 minutes one way or an hour and an hour the other way. That's only like one small portion of your day. The rest of the day is fishing. So that boat, you know, if it's got that sharp a V that you're going to be able to do 100k an hour out there, sure, you get there quick, but then the rest of the day you're going to knock yourself out and make yourself seasick because the thing's just going to rock around like crazy.
Absolutely.
I believe with the Noosa Cats and cats in general, just quietly, but probably Noosa Cats are the best example of them, give you that stability out there that is unequaled by any other boat.
Yep.
You just cannot equal that stability on any other boat. It doesn't matter how good a monohull it is and that. And Noosa Cat have just put together basically the best of both worlds. So you've got a boat that is actually able to get up and go over some serious seas and maintain a pretty good speed. And once you get out there and you've spent that, you know, you spend the bulk of your day, you've got a very, very seaworthy, stable boat to fish from. You know, and that's probably, to me, that's what makes up a good boat. And like I said, on a trailer, I'm yet to find a boat that ticks all those boxes as much as the Noosa Cat that I own at the moment.
Yep. And what is there something else that in the future, if you had an unlimited budget, that you would trade up to?
If I had an unlimited, so this is where it comes down to what you want to do with the boat. Unlimited budget means the next bigger than my boat is not trailable, right? So there's the biggest glitch.
I've seen Freeman 47s on trailers before.
Yeah, they don't make it more than a K from the marina now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do anything in America, though. I reckon you wouldn't make it down your street before you had cops all over you telling one of those things in Victoria.
Well, I'd probably run over someone here, guaranteed. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, with no budget, you know, I'd obviously go to a much bigger boat that I can run off cans and whatnot, which is not, you know, if we're talking in the scheme of things of what we do and keeping it in line with that, and budget wasn't an issue, I'd get another Noosa Cat.
Yep.
I'd get a Noosa and probably rig it out a little bit differently to the one that I've got now. I'd probably still buy a 3000, and I'd probably kit it out a little bit different to have a few more creature comforts, and that's about it.
Yep. Oh, it's good. So you found your ultimate fishing vessel.
I've got it, like I really have, and that's no lie. I say that with my hand on my heart. There's no lie, and I can tell you right now, the amount of customers and friends that I have had that have completely poisoned with the fact they've come on my boat and literally end up going and buying one is unbelievable.
Oh, I've certainly I've seen a rise in the cat fraternity in the last few years for sure. Everyone's sold their CUDA crafts and the deep V boats, and they're all getting all the cat hulls.
Yeah, well, like I said, there's definitely faster boats out there, 100%. You know, there's definitely some well-built boats out there, 100%. But you know, it's what makes up a day on the water that really dictates what's a good boat and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Richie, I really appreciate you coming on the show. You've spent a lot of time with us, which we didn't expect at all, and we really appreciate it. I know we've only tapped into a tiny percentage of your fishing knowledge. We've got a few more questions here, but we don't want to take up too much more of your time. So we'd love to have you come into the studio one day or come back on the phone, and we'll talk further.
Yeah, happy to do it, Dave. It's a pleasure, mate. Thanks for inviting me, mate. And always a good chat when I'm talking to you, mate, and really appreciate it.
No worries. And we've already mentioned it today, but if anyone wants to get onto Richie, he's on all the socials, pretty easy to find under Dreamcatcher2 Sportsfishing. And just send him a message through there. He'll update you where the fish are biting and what's available, and you can splash some cash and he'll get you on board.
Too easy, brother. Well, thank you very much. And listen, let's hope we have a exciting marlin season. It's looking absolutely spectacular. But for everyone that's staying here, mate, get into those tuna. They are sick.
Awesome, mate. Thanks. And we'd love to catch up for a fish one day.
Fantastic, Dave. You too, mate. Take care.
Right, see you, mate. Goodbye. There you go, boys.
Geez, as a passion, like from 16 game fishing, still after all those years, like it's just like day one for Richie, isn't it?
It's in his blood, Joey. Like he lives and breathes for it. You can clearly tell he's so passionate about it.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a kindred spirit. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I know I had to boot him off because I want to talk to Adrian about his.
You want to talk to me
about his red hot Kingfish session during the week.
It was nothing. It was just a breeze. Like,
come on, mate, run us through it before everyone goes to bed.
Yeah.
No, basically, like.
Oh wait, but don't go too into detail because me and Joe want to go there.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not going that far detail. So basically, the week before, I ended up fishing off Coal Point with Joel Bramble, but we were in our tinnies and we were working together. That's Joel in his boat there.
Oh wow,
what a beautiful man.
Yeah. But he's like, after that day, because he's like, oh, we've got to go out again and try brain him. And he messaged me on Monday. He goes, oh, you're going to go out on the tuna on Tuesday? I said, you know what? I'm not. They're absolutely doing my head in. I'm going to pull all my hair out and I'm going to look like Ritchie Abela. But yeah, so basically I said, you know what? I've got a little bit of intel about these kings. I'm going to try work it. He goes, oh, that sounds interesting. And I said, oh, you're welcome to jump on, but I can't launch till about 10 o'clock. And he goes, oh, yeah, sweet. I'll just jump on. And I said, you know, there's no rules with these fish. Like, they're going right up.
I think our invites got lost in the mail.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you guys work, so.
Oh, that's our problem.
Yeah.
That's why we don't catch them.
Yeah. You guys are working.
Go on.
Yeah, so, yeah, we met at the boat ramp about 10, and I was so unorganized, and I was like, oh, no, this is going to be chaos on the water. I've got no rigs, no nothing. And Joel calls me on the way. He goes, have you got any food yet? I go, nah, I haven't even stopped. And I go, you know what? Get a couple of pies for the oven. So he went to Safeways, got some frozen pies. We chucked them in the oven. And I just said, you know, I'm not going kingfishing until we fill that bait tank with at least 15 yakkers, because I'm not wasting, you know, all this burley and time to catch 2 or 3 yakkers and get them destroyed.
Yep.
So we spent it was probably 3 to 4 hours to catch this bait, because we could not catch anything but trevally and toadfish.
Yeah,
it was doing our heads in. So I made one move and found the jackpot of yakkers. Yeah, and you know,
the yak pot.
as you know, last year they were all along the buoys up in the western entrance. So we just decided, we'll deploy some liveys around a couple of buoys.
Structure.
Yeah, structure,
Yep.
basically. There's lots of current edges coming off these buoys and stuff. So just worked it and kept moving along, up and down, different buoys. And then we got to a certain one and there's a couple of boats already working it. And like, maybe there's fish here, there's boats working it. And so I said to Joel, can you rig up a thing? And he was actually really good to have on the boat because I was thinking, oh no, I'm gonna have to try drive and bridle up these things. And he knew exactly what he was doing. So he's a really good deckhand. He's a really good fisherman.
Yep.
So
All
yeah,
right, gosh.
yeah.
Why don't you marry him?
No, but I expected that I was gonna have to do everything, it just made
It's a team thing fishing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's what Joe's like.
Yeah, just bridles everything up, does
He's
he?
a bloody weapon.
Yeah.
Bridles up some salad rolls.
Yeah, everything does have to be Dave proof. He's very, very particular with his tackles, so he's just like, Joe, just hold the wheel. I'm
Best
like,
just to let me do it.
yeah, I can select the music, make the food, and hold the wheel. So
And they're important roles on a fishing trip. Anyway, sorry, Adrian, we digress.
Yeah, so basically we got to this buoy and we deployed 2 liveys and, we got there about, 20 meters away from it and
what liveys were you trolling?
yeah, yakkers.
Yep.
Like I mentioned, we caught a whole live well of yakkers. So I had them out.
No slimies about?
Nah, we got one slimy, but they're not as hardy as the yakkers. Like
Sure.
before we got off the hook and we're trying to revive it before we got it into the tank. That's how bad they are. Yeah.
And do you pin your yakkers through the nose, or do you thread like a band or bit of braid?
So we didn't have any Dacron on or wax thread on the boat. So Joel had some braid and we used that and it worked beautifully. Rolled it up the braid
Beautiful.
onto we used a 10-0 circle hook and yeah, so we got to this buoy, literally got right up to it, hooked up straight away in front of these boats and I don't think they had caught one yet and they're just like, oh no, they're on. And what was really surprising, like Joel said to me, oh, I've done lots of kingfishing in Victoria, been on boats where they caught them, but I've never been on the rod. I said, oh, you can be on the rod. I don't really care. And
Really?
yeah.
Generous man he is.
Yeah. So he jumped on the rod and, filmed him catching this thing. And just as I was netting it, about 10 of these fish basically almost jumped in my net while I netted this fish. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of fish here. And we just did another lap with, a couple more liveys and couldn't hook up because this first fish was about 75 centimeters or whatever and basically couldn't hook up again. So we threw a popper in the water and bang, all of a sudden there's like 20 of it slashing it. So we spent the next, couple of hours casting these poppers and jigs at these kingfish and it was absolutely insane fishing.
It's just incredible. Do you think, why do you think they were maybe up and about on that particular day?
Well, they were probably obviously feeding at the time we got there. Yeah, you're at work.
All right, I know it's a like a bit of a question, but it's like, what was the water temp like?
I actually didn't pay any attention to the water temp at all. I was more looking at bait and fish on the sounder.
When I was catching the real kingfish of Western Port, the Georgies, the temp was 22 point something.
Well, there you go.
Hot. Yeah,
that seems very hot for the bay.
Yeah. No, well, that's what it was, Joe. So that's why those fish are in there. And as we know from our whiting sesh, there's heaps of live bait in the bay because we were getting slimy macs and yakkers hand over fist.
Yeah, so we had some serious fun on these. They're all around that 70 to 75 centimeter, these little fish, and we actually tagged about 9 of them. As you can see there, they're quite little, but they were good fun.
Yeah.
So did you keep one for sashimi or?
Yeah, so we actually kept 4 of these little ones.
Oh, good. I brought an esky.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, you had to drive to my house if you got some fish.
Yeah.
I forgot my esky.
That's right. We'll cook it. Anyway, that's a conversation for afterwards.
Yeah. So anyway, we caught tagged about 9 of these things, and then this giant storm came from the north.
Oh, yes.
And I was just like, oh dear, this is not good. So if you have a look at this.
Oh my gosh.
This is what I was fishing in. And
So that was the other day when it was 36 degrees and the late cold front come through, right?
mate, the late cold front, it was insane. Like, we just got hammered instantly. And I was just like, oh dear, this is not good. And we couldn't touch our phones or anything because it was just our fingers, didn't activate the phone. So we had to go by a nearby boat, putt to them and go, oh, have you got radar in your phone? Can you check this storm? And they said, oh, it's supposed to pass in 20 minutes. We go, oh, let's just wait it out. Yeah, so after that storm passed, it was still a bit choppy and wavy. And I'm like, oh, the sound is marking them up again. So Joel chucked a jig on his rod and jig, 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 bang, on straight away. So we
Wow.
kept catching him again. We still had live baits out this whole time. And the fish this size didn't want to eat, the live baits we had at all. So I'm just like, you know what? I worked this area not far from here last year where people were catching them. I'm just going to move up a bit and find this edge. We'll keep the live baits and putt around. And all of a sudden, when I get there, I'm like, oh, we're kind of in the area now. And the sounder just lights up. Okay, there's some big fish here. And then we just get a two-way bang. I was like, these are good fish. Like, they were going off like the clappers. Like, they were going serious. And what happened is we're on these two fish, and Joel almost killed me.
Did he?
Yeah, I was pinned. So what happened
yeah.
is, because we went into the current
Yeah.
to get the bite.
Yeah.
So the boat's still in gear, and we're finding these fish, and because no one's really touching the wheel, I'm touching every now and then. You're just in gear in the current, and the boat starts yawing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought it wasn't in gear. This is what I think.
Oh.
And he's gone and slammed the thing in forward, and I've just gone thrown back into the boat, and he's fallen on top of me, and we're like hyperspeed. I can't move. I'm pinned.
Oh, you both could have fallen out the back.
Hang on,
and the
while
boat
you
could
had
have kept
fish hooked
going.
up.
Yeah, and we're both holding, fish over a meter on these rods. Like, there's just screaming, and I couldn't move.
Please tell me this is on camera.
It felt like an eternity that I was pinned down for, and all of a sudden, he manages to get to the stick and pull it up. I'm like, that was fucked up. He almost killed me. But anyway, the fish is still on, and I had to wind in a bit of slack. And anyway, got tight again, and his rod was tight the whole time. And I start fighting. I'm like, oh yeah, it's still screaming, whatever. And mid-water, my line just pops. I wind it in, about 5 centimeters from the swivel, it was chafed off. So that time it went slack, had gone into the reef and
Yeah.
Wow.
and chafed up the leader a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, we moved on to his fish, and this thing was an absolute giant. I think it went 112 centimeter, and we landed it. And have a look at this thing. It is an absolute beauty.
Wow.
It's a good fish, Adrian.
Yeah.
You got the tag in that one?
No, we kept this one.
Okay.
Yeah, but so we were down to one bait rod after that, and I said, "I'll quickly bridle that up. I'm going to get us in position again." This drop off was holding some serious fish. We get to it, mark it. Oh my god, bang, on again. And he goes, "Oh, you won it." I go, "All right, no worries." I wind it in, and it's a 1.1 fish after
Wow.
you get it. And I go, "Oh, I'm tagging this thing." So yeah, I put a tag in a fish, and it was good to put one in over a
Beautiful.
meter. So
You know what? I'm making an early prediction that fish will get recaptured in Western Port again this season.
you reckon?
Yeah.
Yep.
Making the call. Now, talking about tagging, I
Yeah.
don't know if you finished your tale of Kingfish.
Yeah, basically, yeah. We ended up with tagging 9 and keeping 5. It was unbelievable. We did shake a few off at the boat too. So I think if I speak to Joel, it's probably 15 or 16 kingfish we caught in the
Mate,
day inside Western
Mate,
Port.
congratulations. That's a session that, you aim for one in every 2 years for us blokes that like to go regularly. So huge congrats, Adrian.
No, it was just one of those. It just felt like one of those 1 in 1,000 trips on Western Port where everything just went together, and it was an amazing day. Like, Joel was still buzzing. Like, he messaged me, I think this morning or last night, and goes, "I'm still buzzing. I can't get over that day on Western Port."
Yeah.
And as you would, like, how often do you go in Western Port and catch, fish over a meter?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of tagging, we've had a bit of news come back on our previous podcast. Before this one, we talk about young Lockie O'Reilly from Inverloch captured school bluefin tuna and had a acoustic tag in it.
Yeah, one of
So-
these archival tags.
I believe you've got some info back on that one, Adrian.
Yeah, so I got involved in the email thread with this because Cyro Hobart were working closely with the Japanese scientists who actually initiated this program on
'Cause
their own.
Somehow we've just become the go-to for tagged
Yeah.
fish. Yeah.
Well, I was out on the water when that fish got tagged, and I was
Mm.
working with Lockie to find the fish that day, and he messaged me, goes, "Oh, I've got this tag," and I go, and I passed it back on to Jonah and Naomi from Cyro straight away, and
Yep.
So it's tagged by a Japanese scientist called Tomoyuki Ito, and what they do is they generally release about maybe 100 fish every January with these archival tags in them.
In Japan.
No, in Esperance, WA. So this
in the Australian bite.
yeah,
yep.
yeah. So it's a Japanese research vessel.
Mm,
And
Nishan Maru.
yeah. Nah,
Is it?
that's not his name. It's
No, no.
Tomoyuki Ito.
It's all right. That's a whaling
Oh,
vessel.
okay, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, so basically this fish got tagged on January 30th, 2020. And it was off Esperance, and it was it was actually measured accurately, 50 centimeter fork length,
Mm.
estimated to be 1 year old.
Wow.
So that makes this fish
What
4
was
years
it?
old.
2020. Yep.
4 years old.
Quick maths. Yep.
Yeah. So quite incredible.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately, we don't know how long Lockie's one was. Do we?
yeah, he estimated it at 25 kilo. It's a bit of discretion there.
25 kilo. Come on,
Yes.
Lockie. Come on, put the Bill theme song on and get the get the tuna police out there.
Well,
Get me a photo
I've
and
got
I'll
a
tell you.
photo right here. Here we go. We can have a look at this photo.
Oh, come on, Lockie. Get out of it, mate.
You can
It's-
actually
and
see.
that's a
You can
beau-
actually
it's a
see.
nice
You
fish.
can actually see the acoustic tag sticking out there,
All right, mate. I'll give you a 16.
and you got it on the old Halco rooster popper.
I'll
So-
generously give you a 16 on that one.
Yep.
Yeah, but so what they're going to do, they've got to analyze the data. I think with these particular tags, they they record data every 10 minutes for 12 months. So it's pretty accurate what data they'll get with this, where it's been, and how fast it's been swimming, what temperature it's been at, and so
That's
it'll be-
awesome.
Great to know there's still some data available there, even though the fish carcass was is disposed of.
Yeah, well, he disposed of the data, the actual fish, when I assumed he would have looked at our last research. But
so they were just relying on that fish being recaptured to get any information back.
yeah, basically,
Yeah.
I think they get about maybe 20 back every year, but they get them, pretty close to the first couple of weeks after releasing these fish.
Yeah.
Because the Australian bite holds all these school fish, and there's a lot of commercial boats and rec boats fishing for them. So
Yep.
in that area.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for the analyzed data to see where it's been, and I guess you'll get one of those cool little animation videos soon, I guess. of
Yeah,
this
that'll be
fish.
cool to see. All right, well, we'll keep everyone updated on that one, but that's very interesting. Now, Joe, we had a lot of hate mail come in after the last episode we did.
About what?
Your weather, Joe Bun weather was horribly inaccurate. People stayed home and it was an absolute glass out there, and people have missed fishing trips and they weren't happy.
Look, well, we've decided to give Seabreeze the arse. We're not affiliated with any weather station. Yeah, we've given Seabreeze the arse, and we've decided to announce the weather as per Met-Eye for the next few days.
Right.
All right. Well, starting from tomorrow, Friday, the 20th of January, looking at the Met-Eye map here on Port Phillip and Western Port. Basically looks like from
Oh, Friday looks sensational.
look, I'm just going to take the slider from 8 a.m.
Oh gosh, look at that.
You're looking at sort of
Those
yeah.
kingfish are going to get destroyed.
Oh man.
yeah, very calm, sort of 5 to 10 knots. 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, still the same, 5 to 10 knots. 2 o'clock, strengthening to 10 to 15. 5 p.m. That's still sort of Port Phillip Bay gets sort of 15 to 20.
This is very localized weather forecasting, by the way. We've really stepped it up a notch.
Yeah, we have. We'll just shift over to Saturday's forecast.
So, Joey, with this forecast, what are you going to be fishing for? Because I heard you're going to get your little tinny out and dominate.
Well, yeah, phone calls and plans need to be made when we conclude tonight. So, I hope to film and we'll contribute something to some videos after this weekend, I hope.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe Bun.
Yeah, that's all right.
Really appreciate it.
On Saturday, we're basically looking at 10 to 15 knots at 2 a.m. We'll click over to 5 a.m. Yeah, 10 to 15.
Look at that easterly coming off Hogan Island there. That's crazy.
Yeah, blowing from the east. 10 to 15 knots, 8 a.m. We're looking at Western Port and Port Phillip. So Saturday's not looking too bad either. We'll click over to Sunday. Let's just start it from, say, 8 a.m. We've got, it looks like it's coming from the southeast also, 10 to 15 knots.
You seem very animated there, Joey. You're just going, 5 knots, 10 knots.
This is my first time. I have to click through all the time cycles here. It's not a one.
There is a forecast on the side.
Okay, Sunday is a building easterly, southeasterly. Going to get quite nasty into the afternoon. So
there you go. That is our local outlook for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. See you later, Seabreeze. Met I. This is what we're going to be talking about.
Thank you, Joe Bun. Now let's finish this one off strong, boys. She's been a long podcast, but I reckon it's been an awesome podcast. Let's crack on with the questions that people have sent in, and then we will finish off in a blaze of glory with those.
Just a quick one, Shane. I've tagged one tuna this year, so tag it one is complete.
Hit me with your questions.
Why don't you hit us with your questions?
Hit me with your questions.
Fire away!
I reckon we got a shitload of questions tonight, Davey, with their guest on.
Yes, we've covered a few of the ones directed at Ritchie already, but there's plenty more here. My good wife's actually prompted me to update everyone on mine and yours fitness journey we're undertaking. We're in a pre-season training for some big fish winding coming up. How are you feeling, Joe? I was actually very impressed. You and I did the 6.7K run to Stony Point boat ramp and back, and I was chugging along behind you thinking, that little bastard, he can actually, he's got some stamina.
Yeah. Look.
Well, when was the last time you actually ran, Dave?
About 3 years ago.
Well, that's quite.
I did all right, actually.
He was pretty impressive. He goes, Joe, I used to be a runner, and he comes out of his bedroom in his running gear, and he's got like the compression leggings going on and stuff. Like, shit,
dear.
I'm not even that professional.
Well, like leg warmers, like he's going to do dancing or something.
That's primarily just to avoid chafing.
Okay. So chafe a lot.
Yeah.
But no, look.
Big balls.
Look, long story short, people listen to the podcast. Mate, I love my food. Nice food and nice drink, and it's kind of caught up to me sort of, towards the end of last year. It's just sort of stepped on the scales over Christmas, and I'm like, yep, 90 kilos. Like, holy crap, that's the
nearly a barrel.
Heaviest I've ever been in my life, low energy, not feeling good at all. So look, just gone back to during COVID, there was one stage where I ran 5Ks a day and just watched what I ate for about 3 months, and were able to quickly sort of strip off, about 7 or 8 kilos. So I would like to
for your whole life history there, Joey.
Yeah, no. Well, so yeah, we're gonna run again 5Ks a day, watch what we eat, and see if we can get back down to sort of that low 80 kilos, nice healthy weight, start having some good energy. And I said to Dave, I've got Strava, which is a running app where you can. Anyone wants to follow?
Colin Petty wants to see your rig, Joey. So
it's a work in progress. But no, I've got Strava, the running app, and if anyone wants to follow me on Strava, you can follow my runs, and I can follow your runs.
A win against Tide Run Club.
We can make a run club, but I've got Dave. Dave's downloaded Strava, and I wanted to go for a run with Dave. It was a windy night, and I said to him one night, I go, your house to the ramp, how long do you reckon that is? He's like, I reckon about 6 Ks. So we ran down Stony Point Road to the pier and back, and we did 6.75 Ks, almost 7 Ks, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did it though.
But we did it. Dave, first time running in 3 years, completed the run. He was absolutely rat shit by the end. I think he stormed inside his house and he lay on his kitchen floor and he said, Joe, pass me my glass. and he filled it up of water and then he collapsed on the floor and then he goes, pass me the glass. I passed him his glass full of water and he just threw the water on his face, huffing and puffing, pantering like a corpse. I wanted to get the chalk and draw around him like the police crime scene movies. And yeah, he was, but no, I was happy that he got through that. So yeah, that's what we've been. We're trying to, we love eating and drinking, but we want to keep healthy, definitely better mindset and better outlook on stuff.
It's an extremely long, detailed answer. Thanks, Joe.
That's all right.
How about you pour us a fine whiskey from Whiskey Club while we finish these questions?
Okay, yeah.
Oh no,
We are running out
don't
of
let him
time.
because he's going to read about a 30-minute.
No, he's not allowed to read anything. Just pour us the whiskey.
No,
and
we're
we'll drink
running out of time. So
it. We're not running out of time. We're not a TV show. People can just stop watching if they're bored. But
Okay.
I hope they're not. All right. So Jibba D wants to know, how do we maintain and wash our gear, reels, rods, lures, etc.? I'll start. Adrian's smelling the whiskey. How is it, Adrian?
It's actually really sweet.
Yeah,
I like it.
that's nice.
Oh.
It's a something
Oh.
Dronich or something.
We'll do that in a second. Keep going, Dave.
Okay, personally, I use my gear so much that I probably don't wash it down as well as I should, but I do always give it a nice fresh water rinse. Every couple of trips, I probably spray it with the Seaman anti-salt spray that we use on the boat.
Oh, your own semen?
Yep, works a charm.
Oh, dear.
No, Seaman salt spray. Seaman Marine, it is, Adrian. And my lures, I rinse them in fresh water and then I spray a silicone spray over the skirts to keep them in good
Oh,
condition.
nice.
About you, Adrian?
Well, I tend to just dump my boat into the factory and say I'll deal with it tomorrow.
No, honestly,
And you would have had a look at my tinny today, and I went fishing 2 days ago, and there's still blood everywhere. Yeah,
I always wondered
it's not clean. But I did give it a hose off on my gear because what happens when you do a season of snapper, you get a lot of eagle rays, and you start catching all these bluefin too, and your gears, your washers actually deteriorate.
Compress.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you got to pull them out, re-grease them, and get the drags, nice and smooth again. So I do that once a year.
How do I make my reels stop sounding like pepper grinders?
I'm still yet to figure that out because I've pulled one of my Stratic CO4s apart, like every little bearing and roller, and greased and oiled and whatever, and it still makes that.
Yeah, I've been told it's everyone says it's the bail arm roller.
Yeah,
But
I've
I
done that.
don't agree with that. Someone else said it's like a drive shaft something washer.
Okay.
So anyway, to be investigated. But yep, that's basically how we maintain our gear. I know Joe does about the same. Gives them a freshwater rinse.
yeah, just fresh water rinse with the garden hose.
Mate,
Yeah,
last time I saw one of your reels, Joe, the braid was packed that loose and tight around itself that it got stuck on itself.
Yeah, it did. We got that fixed up. The good fellas at Complete Angler sorted that out for me. So
That's
All right, I've got a hypothetical. I love hypotheticals. From Lee's
Kingfish.
Chill. A 10 kilo King George whiting fight compared to a 10 kilo Kingfish. What do you think would go harder?
It's hard to know because I can't imagine a 10-kilo King George whiting.
Imagine the fillets. They'd be
I
worth
know it's
filleting
a
at that size.
hypothetical question, but I just can't picture it.
I think of Kingfish would still fight harder.
I've got a different. I'll take that on a different length. I've been on boats where mates have said to me, Joe, can you ever think if Australian salmon ever grew to 20 kilos, how do you think the fight on them would be?
Oh,
I think
yes,
it'd be
Joey.
pathetic.
No, well, they get aerial. That's
No,
the good thing about
That's
them.
right. Can you imagine a 20 kilo Australian salmon? Like that would be more like it.
You're right, Adrian. That is a nice, sweet whiskey. I'm actually really enjoying that.
So the boys have just got
Oh,
stuck
no, he's got
into.
his-
Don't you dare read that.
I'm not reading all of it, but basically this this month's whiskey club. I got it yesterday. It's the Glendronach Cast Strength Batch 11. There we go. We just it's this month's whiskey club. It arrived yesterday, and I've just poured Dave and Adrian a glass. And
Cheers, Dave.
Cheers,
yeah.
Washo.
So
Don't start reading that.
the color of the liquid is
No.
deep bronze. The nose of it is mulled cranberry, orange and clove liqueur meld with dark honeyed treacle
Turn his mic off.
on the base of a nutty oak.
It smells like pure gasoline.
The palate is richly spiced.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah, so Joey
so-
is no longer live because he kept putting on a voice and
We did warn you,
Oh,
Joe.
I wanted to do the whiskey connoisseur voice, but that's all right.
Yeah,
You
Wow.
just keep enjoying.
we will. Thank you. I'm so glad that we can turn your mic off. That's a good tip for future episodes, actually, Adrian. Yeah, I think a 10 kilo king would still pull a 10 kilo King Georgie backwards. Personally, they're a muscular beast.
Yep.
Oh, you can't talk. Joe thinks so too.
Am I there?
No, I think you
King
put your back
George,
on there.
I still think 10 kilo king every day of the week.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
It's a bottom feeding long fish, like the girth of a kingfish will still, even at 10 kilos, it's still going to be thicker than a 10 kilo King George whiting.
Mate,
Just
the fight of these meter kingfish the other day, it just like, whoa, these are serious game fish.
100%.
And they bend you over, pull you under the boat, and they're just an epic fight.
I'll tell you what, the only one thing I could say, maybe a 10 kilo whiting, I'd be thinking maybe a bonefish, something that swims on the flats that they cast flies at. That will probably be your best comparison to closest thing to a 10 kilo King George whiting.
It's a single malt.
Yes, it's a single malt.
Yeah, single malt. That one,
Single-
Colin.
That's it.
Yes. There's a lot of questions about where and how to find the kingfish, which we kind of spoke about. Worth looking on any structure.
And drop off current edges as well.
Yeah.
Well, you're seeing them
That's
on the
where I found
surface
the big
as well.
fish on a drop off that had quite a bit of current going off it.
Use your eyes, look at the ripples on the water. It might not be a salmon school.
Well, yeah, the sounder shots I had on my sounder that day, it basically were these giant big arches
Yep.
on top of each other. They were insane.
Nice. What do we like chasing more, the kings or the tuna?
But we actually don't do a lot of kingfishing because it is quite hard. Like me and Dave have done a lot over the years in Western Port, and it is quite tiresome when you go out all the time and just can't get a bite.
Look,
Generally, it's a bit more boring. Like, we love the tuna because we can cast top water at them, really. And obviously, we just love tuna. But I think if you get on the right kingfish bite and they're a bit more active, then you can't. It's hard to beat. They just pull like freight trains.
look, I like them both, but just the kingfish are really only here for a short amount of time. So, when they're here, we try to hit it as hard as possible because
Joey,
they're gone straight away.
That top water action on kingies, they pulled like crazy, even though they were only like 70 centimeter fish. But getting that bite on the surface and watching them all just attack it and boom, it was insane.
I can imagine it, and isn't it contrast to these sunning tuna, which are not all over it and fighting each other to get to the popper. So it would have been
Hang
incredible.
on, guys, we're getting a live alcohol reaction on Dave's face here.
Oh, am I going red?
Yeah, he's
Oh, I really am, aren't I?
he's got an alcohol reaction.
Yeah, I do something where my face goes like beetroot.
I was going to say when Dave first had a sip of it, it looked like he just sipped paint thinners. But
What
he said
is
he's
that?
enjoying
Does
it.
anyone know why? Some
Yeah, you got
alcohols I drink, they just make me go rosy red.
No, it's good. It's good for you. It's getting the blood flowing.
Is it good for the capillaries? Exercises the capillaries, Joe. Yeah, so that's virtually most of the questions that we can really answer. There's a couple more on there, but I feel like we've basically covered mostly everything. And it's been a ripper episode, boys. So good to be back in the studio with you both. And I look forward to seeing you both again next week. And tomorrow night, we've got a video dropping on the channel. Joey's family going snapper fishing.
Joey.
Oh yeah,
So-
Uncle Tony's been waiting all week for this one. The self-proclaimed snapper king of Pickings Road, Safety Beach, is in competition with about. He's got 4 other neighbours that are avid fishermen as well, and they absolutely just give it to each other of who's the best fisherman in the street. So
And they're probably the only 4 people who actually knows of him as being the snapper king. So
yeah,
quite the hero in his own lunchbox.
No, it's all good.
Not only that, jump on and see me and Joey's whiting adventures, which we put up last week. Bit of
Yes.
catching up to do for everyone.
Yep. That was a great trip also.
Still clothes left to be bought as well, people.
You
Got
going to
hoodies
do
and
any
shirts.
more Chinese fishing, Joey?
Look, well, Dave and I were saying we'd like to upsize.
Upsize
the
old
whiting.
Chinese fish.
Yeah.
Oh, if I can put out one last request. Me and Joe do want to go fishing tomorrow, but now I've
You got some
I need
alcohol reaction on your face, and you need medical attention
I
straight away.
require a babysitter for my son Sam in order for me and Joe to go fishing. So I'm sure one of you random fishermen out there would be very trustworthy with an infant, and just send us a message and we'll tee that up so me and Joe can go for a fish.
That would be nice.
Anything else to add, Adrian, before we wrap up?
No, I think that sums it up. We've been going for an hour and 40, and it was a great episode. Well done,
It's very
lads.
hot in here now, by the way.
Oh, I think you need medical attention.
I do. I'm legit burning
Hey,
out.
Joe's poisoned him with this whiskey,
Okay.
and he's given Dave the poison glass.
Finish the show.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
I'm back.
Uh-oh.
Joe
My heart
Gates.
stopped.
Thanks for the mouth to mouth, Joe. Thanks.